So we are going to get started here. These are our monthly coaching calls. And the purpose of these calls is just to remind you of the things you need to be doing to stay on track after the seminar. So I just want to go through and remind you that the goal is to keep you moving forward, to make sure you're learning what you've learned at the Marketing Mastery Gateway program. I also would do these calls to make sure you don't feel isolated, so you're not feeling like you're the only one out there on the planet working on some of these things, struggling, working away. I also want to help you hold yourself accountable to accomplishing the goals that you've set for yourself as a real estate professional. And then finally to give you some new ideas, things that can make a difference in your life personally, professionally. And that's the purpose of these calls. All right. So first of all, I want to recommend my book of the month. And this month it's Purple Cow. And this is an outstanding book by Seth Godin. I think Seth is one of the best marketing authors of our time. He's done a remarkable job at really getting people to understand the core elements of marketing. Purple Cow is really a book talking about how to make sure that your marketing, your business, whatever you do is truly remarkable so that it stands out from the crowd. I really feel like this is a book I wish I would have written, and but since I didn't, I want to recommend it highly. I think it's will give you some great ideas for making yourself stand out in unique ways. I'd also love to get feedback from last month's book recommendations. Last month I recommended a variety of different books. I recommended Wayne Dyer's new book and these two books, Leadership and Self-Deception and Nonviolent Communication. I think these are so outstanding. And so I would love to get some feedback from you about these. So I want to start off here by just asking a quick poll on these particular books. So if you do me a favor, answer my poll here real quick. And did you read these books? What did you think about them? And if you have any comments, thoughts on it, feel free to write them into the computer, talk about them, and I would greatly appreciate that. So I only see about 6% of you voting so far, so you guys are breaking my heart right now. Man, I just wanted to check on this. All right, so this is one of those things that scares me. I think, oh my goodness, I see about I see if people still voting a little bit, so we're going to give. Okay, so let's take a look at the results here. And if you take a look at it, first of all, 4% of you said you read it and it was just okay. Nobody said it was great. 4% said you bought it but haven't read it. 88% saying I'm still thinking about getting the book, and 4% are at least honest enough to say you're never going to read it. So my book recommendations are not going over super well, but hopefully I can convince you that reading is a good thing, and it's a much better way to keep going. So if you will read consistently, I really think it will make a huge difference for you. I think that so many times we don't succeed in our life because we're doing things out of a sense of obligation, duty. And I wouldn't want you to read a book out of obligation, sense, or duty either. I only want you to do things that you truly find exciting and engaging. And if you will only focus on the things in your life that will make your life and the ones around you, the people that you care about, more wonderful, I truly believe you'll have a lot more success, you'll have a lot happier life, you'll be healthier, and that will make a huge difference in your overall quality of life. To really help you do this, I have a quick exercise I want to get started off with this morning. I'm going to start out by writing out a list of things that you feel like you have to do, but they're things that you don't like doing. and I just want you to write down all the things that you think you have to do, but you don't like doing, then I want you to take that same list, and it's important to do this on paper. You can't do this on your mind. I've found it's a lot more effective on paper than even doing this on a computer. And rewrite the entire list on paper, but rewrite each item with the words, I choose to do X. And what I found is that this is really a powerful way to connect with the fact that you do have a choice, and that from moment to moment in your life, you have a choice about everything that you're doing. So many times we think, well, gosh, I don't really have a choice. I have to do this. But the reality is we do have choices. And it's only when we take the responsibility and we really get inside of ourselves and say, you know what, I am responsible for this. This is my choice, that we start to understand that. Now, I found that when I do this, I realize that sometimes the choices I'm making, I say, I'm not willing to do that anymore. And it will help you get rid of those things. But a lot of times it'll connect you with the fact, oh, I do have a choice on this, and instantly that will change your attitude about it. Now, write out this. I choose to prospect, drive my kids to school. I choose to read because I want to. And now if you can put, what is it that I'm doing this for? Because I want to succeed as a real estate agent. I want to earn X number of dollars so I can go here, do that. It connects us with what we want, the need behind that. And what I found is that this gives us a great sense of empowerment, because we now don't feel like, oh, I'm trapped. I don't have to do this because some outside force. It's my internal choice. And now, even when we have incredibly hard work to do, if you will stay connected to what you want and why you want it, I found you can find joy in doing even hard, challenging work. And this really helps us stay in control and connected to what's really important in our lives. And I found that when we disconnect from that, we aren't nearly as productive and happy as we could be. So the real question is, will you do this? So let me ask you guys, what's the realistic chance of you doing this exercise? Taking time to actually sit down and connecting that with. So now, I want you to be just as honest about my book recommendations. All right. I see a variety of interesting responses here. So I see about 40% of you have voted so far. All right, 50, 60%. All right, we're getting there. It's so let's take a look at the actual results here. Okay, 4% of you say, honestly, you're never going to do it. And then we see a wide range of things. And about 40% of you are committed 100% to actually doing it. To make this happen, you just got to set some time on, and it will really be important to say, when am I going to do this? And if you will do that, it will make a huge difference for you. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Today, our topic is creative ways to turn your personal prospecting brochure into cash. And one of the things over the years is that so many agents ask me, Greg, how do I take my brochure, that wonderful tool you created for me, and actually make sure that I'm making money with it? And this is one of my great frustrations. I see so many agents that have good intentions. They create a personal prospecting brochure that tells their emotional story, but then they don't use it consistently to turn it into cash. They use it sort of in the standard ways. You know, they take it to open houses and they send it out as a pre-listing tool, but they don't ever get creative and say, how do I look beyond the ordinary and do things that are truly extraordinary with it so that it generates an ongoing flow of business? A few years ago, I was up in Santa Barbara doing some consulting with a realtor, and he said, Greg, I'm really concerned this last year my brochure hasn't been working the way it used to. And for years, no matter what he did, every place he went, he passed out his personal brochure, and he was getting out about 400 or 500 of them a month. Every place he could imagine, he was sending it, using them like water. But then one day he realized that he was running low on his supply, and he realized that he needed to update his pictures, and he said, well, gosh, I don't want to do that. And so what he did was he started just sort of hoarding them. He said, well, I won't send them out here. I'll only send them to really important clients. I'll do this. And as I worked with him, I realized over the year that he said his brochure wasn't working for him anymore, he had only been sending out about 20 or 30 a month. The reality is that these are something you actually have to give away consistently, constantly. Now, I talk about this at the seminar, but I think so many agents leave the seminar and then forget that, oh gosh, I need to give them out consistently. And I always ask, what stops agents from giving them away? And I think a lot of agents sometimes think their own brochure is egotistical. It's about them. They say, gosh, I don't want to brag about me. But the reality is that the best way to build an emotional connection is your story. I talk to a lot of agents who say, well, gosh, I don't want to send it to my past clients year after year. I know that's what you said I should do, because they've seen it before. But the reality is that that's how you keep relationships going. You make contact consistently. You keep that story in front of people. Then agents say, well, Greg, what if they don't like me after reading it? And every now and then somebody will say, I read your brochure. Well, you're not the right agent for me. That's okay. Remember, you don't have to appeal to everyone on the planet. The goal is to get the people that like you to do business with you. I am amazed at how many agents are working so hard getting clients that don't like them to actually try and do business with them. Focus on the people that are actually going to like you, that like your style, like your business, and it will make a huge difference for you and your ability to turn your business into legitimate value and cash. Now, remember, the goal of all prospecting is simply relationship build. Your story is the best way to build relationships. And if you will just concentrate on getting your story out, it makes a huge difference. So think about all the uses for your personal brochure. And today, I really want you to think about using it, especially in social media, because I see such incredible impact. I believe that you should be on YouTube, Facebook, talking about your brochure, offering your brochure in all kinds of different ways this way. Now, also ask yourself, how many new people each month are you exposing your story to? And if you get your story out there consistently, it makes such a huge difference. Remember, if you need ideas, information, you can go to hobbsherder.com/client resources /10transactions.asp and download the 10 Transactions in 90 Days book that has letters, everything that you can use to think about how to get that out there. Then I want you to get outside of the box. Be creative. If you think about this, it can make such a huge difference. Chris Loftus every year inserts his personal brochure into Eagle magazine. And you'll notice that he just has it glued onto an ad that he's running. This is incredibly economical, and he distributes about 5,000 of them in just this little town of Eagle, Idaho, where he works. And he says, I am the celebrity. I am the person that they perceive as being so much above everybody else. Then think about your story and say, what are the classic places I could use my brochure? Now, Joe uses his love of classic cars, the story of growing up in a garage, as he attracts his real estate clients. And I want you to think about it. He can use his brochure in car shows. There's so many opportunities if you will think outside of the box. In New Haven, Steve focuses on this little tiny rural community. It's a population of only 2,000 people. And yet, because he's a local person, he knows everybody. His brochure is in almost every store in town. And he is the dominant realtor in the area. Get involved in anything in your area. And think about it. You can have such a huge impact. Maybe you're into skiing, hiking, whatever it is, And Karen uses this brochure to pass out at all the different functions that talk about the things that she's got a passion on. Maybe you're into collecting things. There's always unique ways of using your brochure. Create a little YouTube video. Talk about your brochure on Facebook. Pin it on Pinterest. Priscilla has had great success on her YouTube videos. At the end of her listing videos, offering, hey, if I'm the right realtor for you, just ask me for a copy of my personal brochure. Then she's pinned it on Pinterest. She's got it all over the place, and she gets steady flows of business from this. Today, we also have a special guest with us, and that's Peggy Lucas. Peggy uses her brochure successfully to farm expired listings for sale by owners and does a variety of different things. So, Peggy, first of all, I'd love it if you would just tell us a little bit of your story, who you are, where you're from, a little bit about your market.
I am a real estate broker and co-owner of Lucas & Associates in Birmingham, Alabama. I've been in real estate for about 14 years, and I was lucky enough to find Hobbs Herder advertising my first year in real estate, so I didn't have old habits to undo. And I basically started my campaign my first year. Started with Hobbs Herder techniques my first year and had my campaign out by my second anniversary as a realtor, and have been quite successful with the actual brochure itself and house flyers. We basically do the for sale by owner pretty much to the letter, and oftentimes go in and out of the program, mostly because the business starts happening. But it is a system that you can put out in front of the public before they know who you are. And while they're still thinking of trying to get it sold themselves, they've got our information along with our special reports that go along with the campaign, and makes us look really good before we have to start opening our mouth and talking.
So tell us, how does this actually work? I mean, just walk us through what you do. I know you're following the plan, but I think a lot of people never read the plan from the download site. So why don't you just walk us through what you do and share us some stories of how people respond to it?
Well, one of the easiest things is that you can follow it by the letter. Once we have the for sale by owner program in the computer, we actually use a contact management program that calendars when these things need to go out, so it's a no-brainer for me. We pop one in on Monday, and we basically follow it for the 8-week program. And oftentimes by week 5, they're calling us to do a interview or a come list me call to us, which is always nice. Very rarely do we make it to the end and have to make follow-up phone calls to find out where they are with their process.
So how do you actually find for sale by owners?
It's a variety. You can use the online situation if they're online as a .com, or basically what we like to do is cherry pick the areas we like, because we know the area, we have the CMAs in our head, we know the product, and probably have either seen or saw the property when it was on the market previously, and so we kind of have a little bit of working knowledge for a specific area. Tami, who's here with me today, has a wonderful story of her own to share, where she was in town where she lived, and basically carried it over into Homewood, which was a totally different type of bedroom community, and has made a name for herself in a location where she just decided she wanted to move to.
So I want to get back to the fact that you're mailing out your brochure and then the follow-up letters to for sale by owners, and you said they're calling you week 4 or 5. How does that actually work?
Oftentimes, well, the first week we put our brochure along with a letter that we actually personalize with our house flyer with the matching look, along with the cover letter, or week 1 of the for sale by owner program, that explains to the clients that, you know, we're here as a source of information for them. And by week 4 and 5, we're just checking back in with them to see how their campaign is going, and offering a second special report, again, that has the same look as our brand and our brochure. It may say the same things as Tami's, but Tami actually works a different area than I do, and it's a system that can work in any community. That's the nicest thing. I can adjust it for Hoover, I can adjust it for Pelham or Alabaster, all areas which I cover. There they are right there. And I can say this too, I've known a higher return our for sale by owner since we customized these special reports. My first year with our campaign, we just used basically the generic one that you get from the campaign, and we put our picture in, but it didn't have the matching logo, it didn't have the matching background that looks like my brochure. But we saw a higher return on our listings taken once we started doing all of the branded consistency, and oh, there's Peggy again, or oh, there's the lady with the child on the swing. I actually have been to church and people say, aren't you the agent with the child on the swing? Yeah, I am. So I mean, it's a notoriety before you have a chance to get to see the people first.
So the other question that I have for you is, when people read your brochure and you talk about your family values, who you are, a little about you, your husband, David, your kids, it doesn't talk a lot about your specific real estate, things that you do. How do people respond, and what do you think it is that drives them to want to do business with you?
It's finding a commonality. If somebody's going to make the their largest financial purchase, why not do it with somebody that is like you? And yes, I've had business professional people who don't connect with my brochure, and that's fine. If they don't connect with me on the family level, we can turn all of that stuff off and just deal straight business. But I am working with a client right now that's relocating from New England, and they're buying a local company, and she completely connected with me about my brochure, starting initially from our website, again, that looks just like our brochure. And out of all of the area agents of probably 3,800 real estate agents, she connected with ours and has sent me into working with 8 different families that are moving to work with their company by the simple connection of family. That was my core family values. That was hers. She follows me on my Facebook and Pinterest and all these other things that we have in common, and it makes it comfortable when you're spending several hours a week with a family that you don't know, that you have something in common.
So I know the marketplace is starting to recover. How is your business doing so far this year?
Doing extremely well. We're on mark right now for a banner year, even though the overall is down, and are keeping up with our scores. By the end of the second quarter, I will probably have closed everything I did all last year. All
right. Well, that's always a good thing. So any other comments that you think would be useful for agents as they're using their brochure? And one of the things that I always run into is that somehow agents don't somehow think, how do I get it out consistently? And one of the things I really admire about you is that for all the years you've been in real estate now, you've stayed pretty consistent getting it out there consistently in front of people. What do you think has allowed you to do that? Or
it's really a system, and I'm like everybody else. Sometimes I let business and life happen. But we try to go back to the consistent of getting it out, like you suggested years and years ago, about getting it out twice a year to the people that are in your sphere of influence, reminding them that you're out there. Recently, we have become part of a gym family, and I joined the first of the year, and they know that we're in real estate. They have all become walking billboards for us, and I provide them copies of our business cards and the brochures. And they're like coming into the gym and saying, hey, I need to see you after a workout. I've got somebody that needs to buy a house. And of course, they've got the brochure, and they've asked me for extras. And so that's kind of a nice new feeling for me, to have people ask me for more to give out.
All right. That is always a good feeling there. So I really appreciate you sharing with people. We also have Tami on the line, and Tami's one of the newer agents in your organization. And Tami, one of the questions I get asked all the time is, one, does this work for younger agents? And I don't want you to divulge your age, but so first of all, tell us, how do people respond to your brochure?
It's actually been great. One of my favorite things about the brochure is that it does attract like-minded people. And, who wants to do business with someone who doesn't see eye to eye? It's been perfect for that. The people that do contact me and call me to come list their homes are people that basically already know me, and also just see things similarly. So I don't have to worry about it being like pulling teeth to actually have a transaction with them, or focus on selling their home. It's been great for that. That's one of my favorite parts about it. And by the way, I'm 31.
So you're old now, so I hate to tell you this. No, that's great. I love young people in real estate. So tell us, how have you been using your brochure with expired for sale by owners? Peggy said you had a story to tell of.
I've probably got a few stories, but yeah, I use the for sale by owner program as well, and I purchased my my package in 2009, and that year I probably was only doing about $2 million in business annually, and it was my second full year in the business. So I purchased my package, and I was going to Gateway consistently, and the following year I doubled my business, and stayed consistent on that for the next year. And actually last year was the first year that we did the full-blown Hobbs Herder campaign, where we sent out personal brochures to a farm of about 2,000 people, and including our Mets and our sphere of influence. And this year, by July 1st, I will have completed the total production that I did in all of last year. It's been great.
All right. So in your farm area, do you feel like you have recognition now? Do you have, when you're walking around, do people know who you are, recognize you?
Yes, and it was actually, I've had several instances where I've gone somewhere and someone said, "I know you," and it takes them a second and they realize, "Oh, you know what? You're that realtor." I went to a music event recently, and the performer was on stage, and she looked out in the audience. She said, "I know you from somewhere," into the microphone, which was great. And she actually found out that she was, she realized she's in my farm area. So she said, "Wait, you're that high energy girl, win with Tami. What is it?" And she, turned to her spouse who was in the audience. She said, "We know her. Yeah, go Tami." So that was great. But no, I actually moved from 20 miles away into a new farm area, and I was really concerned that it was going to affect my production, and it was the first year that they had my Hobbs Herder material, so I was very nervous that I was going to lose what I had and the market share that I had. And looking at this year's numbers, I shouldn't have been concerned at all. I used the system and it worked.
All right, so tell us about how you use it with the expireds.
Expireds, it's a fast-paced thing. Expireds is something you've got to stay on your toes with, and you've just got to make sure that you actually put yourself in front of the client, or the potential client, I guess, at the time. So it's more of really getting in the face and sending out the materials ASAP. Expireds has been a wonderful thing also, because I've gotten to the point where market share is large enough, and I do have enough clientele that I actually gain expireds just through previous clients. I've got a client currently who is a raving fan. He actually has a huge stack of my personal brochures, and he has we aren't supposed to cross signs, right? But he has no issue with that. He will actually go to friends and family who are currently listed, and he will give them my brochure and say, "You know what? If your realtor's not doing a great job, you should really call my girl."
All right.
So, the Expire program is a very fast-paced program, and I recommend it for anyone who has the ability to stay on their toes and maintain it.
So I have a question. When you send out your brochure to expireds, and since the approach is so, a lot of people tell me it's soft, it's more of a connection. How do expireds actually respond to you?
The calls that I get from expireds are usually very warm. That's one of the best things about the personal brochure and all of the Hobbs Herder campaigns. Receiving a call off of the campaign or your personal brochure from an expired, it's not as cold as it would have been otherwise. And I've seen other agents in our areas of expired materials. They're sad. And and no offense to anyone who's listening that may be in the Birmingham area, but it's one of those things that you get a professional foot in the door, and it is a fabulous feeling to know that someone's calling you, and it's a very warm and open-minded conversation, and it's just you almost feel like you know the person, and they feel the same way because they've read your materials.
So the other question I have for you, and this is one of the things that I always like to hear from younger agents. As a brand new agent, when you very first got into real estate, when you finally had your brochure, how did that make you feel? Did that give you extra confidence about your professionalism, about what you were doing?
Yes, it did. And I will say, I know that one of the topics you mentioned was newer agents going into this. I was very nervous because when I got my real estate license, I was 26, and I was surrounded by women who were twice my age. I'm not going to lie. And I found myself a minority in a field. So I was actually concerned that the brochure would give, I didn't want to appear old on my brochure, in other words. So the conversation I had with my writer went great. It was fabulous. They nailed me to a T, and it gave me an air of confidence. I actually am able to walk into a listing appointment and know now that I've got something that pretty much no one in our area has, and it makes me feel, I guess, more. I am experienced at this point. You know, I've been in the business a while, but it adds a professional feel to everything I do, and it allows clients to take me more seriously, because I will tell you this, for the first year and a half of my business, I had a lot of people tell me that, you know, I was too young, and wow, you're young. I got a lot of the ageism comments. So this actually, it gives me a leg to stand on.
All right.
Take me more seriously.
That's always valuable. So tell us, how have people responded to your special reports as well? I love the look and feel of your campaign. How do you use your special reports, and how do people respond to them?
I use them in any way possible. I hand them out like candy. We have a huge stock here, and I hand them out any chance I get, whether, you know, the most basic way obviously is a listing appointment or a pre-listing to send it. If you can get it in the client's hands before you meet them, God, it's great, because when you actually do meet them, their response is, you know, I read what you sent and I did my homework, and half the time I've got so many people who may have received a special report in the mail and then called to ask me to list their home, and basically they are concerned about overpricing the house. I mean, that's their big concern. So that's always a nice foot in the door, right? Do you have a seller who says, are you sure that's low enough?
So many agents listening right now have no concept of even how that happens, and I'm amazed at how many people go to the gateway and then actually don't even read the special reports that we gave them, and realize that they are such great tools to help them price things correctly.
That's one of the nice things, Greg, is that, you know, you don't have to have the campaign for the information that they learn at Gateway to work. Like I said, I was waiting for a year because, you know, remember I drug my feet about photography on my campaign, and I was actually using the special reports that we were able to utilize straight the day after Gateway. We came home and we implemented them. So, I mean, you don't have to have, you know, Tami's looks absolutely amazing, and I'm so proud for her campaign, and it's awesome to support this in our office, that she is out there, she's professional. The brochures, the whole tool works, and it works at whatever level you put it out there in front of people. And again, you said earlier, if you hoard them and keep them under your desk, yeah, they don't work. they do collect dust. But one of the things I wanted to share, Tami's talking about looking professional. Last January, we came in after the holidays were all over. I think we were here on January 2nd. And we put out our For Sale by Owner campaign to about 15 people that second day of January. And the following Saturday, we came in to do the letters again. And as I was doing the week number 2, I had just put this seller's name on that envelope to send him the follow-up letter. And the phone rang. And of course, it was Saturday. So A, he was shocked that I answered the phone on Saturday. But 2, it was the guy I just put the stamp on his envelope. And I actually called him by name, and he was surprised, one, that I knew his name. And I wouldn't have had I not been doing the work. But his statement to me was, I want you to come list my house. And I said, well, I'll be glad to. And I called the street name out, and he said, wow, I can't believe you know where my house is. Yeah, and of course he did. We told him the story afterwards. We fessed up to it. But when we went out to his house to list it, we actually made the appointment for Sunday afternoon because he was leaving town. And to make a long story short, he told us the reason he wanted to hire me, even after just week one, was the materials were so professional, full color, top notch. He wanted an agent that would pursue the sale of his home that way. And he said the reason was because the day before he had an agent that called him, and he was standing in front of the owner's house in a jogging suit, and he refused to meet with the man because he said it looked like he just called him from the gym. And that's the level of professionalism this particular seller was expecting, to have full service, full attention to his house. And he felt like if we were advertising ourselves this way to promote ourselves and market ourselves, what were we going to do to market his house? And he felt comfortable in hiring us sight unseen, essentially. Now, does every one of them work that way? No. Some people are still skeptics, and you have to do the whole dog and pony show, which is fine because we have it to pull out when it's needed.
Well, and I think that's, there's no magic bullet that solves every single problem on the planet. And the reality is that these are just tools to get you out there and make your business easier and more enjoyable in a variety of different ways. And I think that's the key that agents have to remember. So one of the things that I would love to have a little bit more from Tami, you said you're using your special reports sort of like water. So when you set up a listing appointment, what special report do you send them?
For listing appointments, I send them how to sell your home in a buyer's market. That's probably my go-to for listing appointments, and that's the special report that will have a seller asking you, are you sure I'm pricing it low enough? Do we need to price it any lower? I actually had a seller most recently when an offer came in, because she had read the special report from the get-go, and we had an offer came in that was it was slightly low. It wasn't fabulous, but she actually said, well, you know what? I'm thinking we should accept the offer. I'm scared it's not going to appraise. It's a reality check. It's a great form, and it makes work so much easier, and the work is half of what you would have to do to convince a seller that, that pricing and is pretty much everything when it comes to selling in this market.
So how do you use your special reports with buyers?
With buyers, it's a great tool for buyers to buying their first home. Number one, it is perfect for first-time buyers who really don't know much, and it's a great way to educate buyers in our current market. How and why to buy in a buyer's market is a great tool for clients who. You always have buyers that come in and say, well, I had a client or I had a friend that bought a house for half of list price. Well, those are all the old wives' tales that we all hear and they're tossed around, and it's just it's a realistic approach for buyers to actually go in and view houses and how to get a deal in this market without actually stealing a home from the seller, realizing when a house is priced correctly and when it's not.
All right. So Peggy, have you been using your buyer's questionnaire?
Yeah, we have, and not as much as I would like to. It goes back to you get involved with business as it goes on. The buyer questionnaire is something that we try to do at the beginning, and what it does is it helps to cut down on what somebody is. You don't have to show 90 houses. Sometimes if you do it the right way up front, you don't have to show 9 houses. But I have had my marathons of showing houses over 3-day periods, especially out-of-towners. They need to know different areas and what they're looking at, and sometimes it's even different price points. So, a $250,000 house is not going to compare to a $400,000 home, obviously. So you wind up showing one client like they're 3 different clients. So that it does take some of the peripheral concerns for the buyers out of the format, and you're able to zone in and make the transaction occur more quickly with the buyer questionnaire.
All right. Well, I'm seeing some questions pop up on the screen here, and I just want to go through them. First of all, I saw somebody says, how do I get the expired system? And since all of you are Gateway graduates on the call here, or on the webinar, remember if you go to the Hobbs Herder download site, the complete expired system, all the letters, the follow-up, what to do is there. The For Sale by Owner program is there perfectly as well. And then I'd like to open it up to questions from anybody for Tami or Peggy about what they're doing, questions about how they're using their brochure. So I see Michelle just asks, I just received my brochure and want to know where the program is, so I need to follow it again. So I gave you the place where you can download the 10 transactions in 90 days, so go there. And now, any questions from Eddie? So if you go to the control panel and type a question, that's great. And I see Tim Johnson has a question for Peggy and Tami. It says, what do your clients say about the price tag on the special reports?
I actually, when my first gateway, I saw that and I thought it was the cheesiest thing I'd ever seen. And I actually went back to the office and David, Peggy's husband, had one that he was putting out, and I said, I'm going to do mine without the price on them. I don't want to have this price on it. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, can I change it to like $25? And he said, no. He said, they've got to see the value in the report. So you know, it's not once have they ever said anything. They're actually pretty blown away. And to be honest, when I first started with the special reports, I was doing the make it yourself, kind of, you know, get it bound. Cost more per unit to make, but that was all I could do at the time. So, and even then, with the $49 on that special report, I never ever had a client ask me or say anything about it. It was almost like it was just an added piece of value, and it's just a little kind of a tap in the right direction, I'd say, to where they look at it and they go, wow, okay, awesome.
So, I mean, one of the things I think people forget is that it makes you look like you're the author, you're the expert, you're the person that truly has the insight into this. And I have a question from Noelle. It says, how often do you change your brochures?
Wow, I want to answer that one. It's time. It's not time to change the actual brochure. You know, just some added information. We're going to leave basically our history and our story the same, but it's time for pictures again. I have actually changed it twice. I've been 12 years now with our campaign, and about 6 years into the first one, we did photography. And my kids are actually the prodders of this one. We're going to do a photo shoot in May, and it's been about 6.5 more years since we've done the photos, and it's time. So
that's a little long. I tell people every 3 years you should update your photos so that the photos continue to look like you. And so, you know,
I just hate photos.
I understand nobody likes their photos, but the reality is that you can do that. And then a question says,
yeah, well,
can I repeat where to download the 10 transactions in 90 days? And that's if you go to the Hobbs Herder exclusive site, it's hobbsherder.com/exclusive. You'll find the 90-day plan, the special reports, everything out there, because I see a lot of questions about where I can get that stuff. And so for all you seminar graduates, that's all the stuff you should have gone and looked at right after you got home. So then it says, Peggy mentioned a contact management system. Will you share the name of the system that you use?
I have been using Top Producer for years, and there's another great opportunity out there right now, which is the one that I can't think. Exact
Contact
is another. Yes, Exact Contact is another great one. We were just already shoulder deep into Top Producer. Is the only reason I didn't switch over to the Exact, and we were content with what Top Producer does. It's a nominal monthly fee to take all of the brainstorm out of what you need to do with the letter campaign from the for sale by owner to even individual campaigns that you make on yourself, as far as like you might want to customize something to do for your sphere of influence that is not necessarily a Hobbs Herder campaign. And once you calendarize it, you can tell it what day of the month or what day of the year, or in a series of 8 letters like the for sale by owner campaign, it wakes you up every morning in your computer. This isn't a pitch for the Top Producer, but it is something that is substantial to handle your business.
And the reality is, I think that you've got to pick one and just use it, and there's none that are perfect. And
correct.
You just got to use that. The next question I see is somebody just got their brochures and asking if they should send it out with a cover letter or just send out the brochure. And I definitely think you should go with the cover letter. Take a look at the cover letters in the 90-day prospecting plan. There's some great ones there to use. The next question comes from Malcolm. He says, on expired listings in an environment where homes relist quickly, how to use the system? And I think Tami sort of addressed that. Is one, getting it out very quickly so that you get the expired list, you get your brochure, the follow-up system right away out there to it.
One of the things on that, Greg, is there's a wonderful 8-day program, the expired program in the Hobbs Herder campaign. And if it's a general area where you cover and you know the geographics and you know your comps very, very well, and it's expired, you can always door knock and leave a custom package at the front door of the house where it looks like you've had it delivered to their home, and then they've got it when they come home from work, so that's quite expedient. And it's all, again, it goes back to it's top notch. It's not something that's Xeroxed in black and white that you're painting through. And so I think you can still leave it on people's doors if it's your area and you know the comps.
All right. So I just got a question from Ron, and I've been asked this question a number of times, and I'd love to get, Peggy, your take on this. And the question is, do you think when you give them your brochure and the special reports that you've given them so many tools that they feel like they can try and sell their home without the help of a realtor?
Absolutely not. They're so scared by the time they've seen what we have done and how we have paid for the professionalism of the quality of their campaigns, that they see the value of what they're about to pay in a commission.
I mean, and to me, that's the one thing, and I'm always amazed at how many agents sort of go that way and think, oh gosh, if I give them my special reports, if I do all this stuff, they're going to not use me. And I found the exact opposite. It always has happened. The next question comes from Janice. It says, at the Gateway Seminar, it was mentioned that we use Exact Contact. The special reports could be loaded into Exact Contact, and there's no extra charge. The special reports are not in Exact Contact, but all the letters, all of the systems, and basically the follow-up plan for the expired for sale owner is there, so you just assign it, and it just triggers you to do it, and that's all included as long as you sign up for Exact Contact through Hobbs Herder. And remember, I gave you the flyer at the seminar, and if you lost it or need the link to that, just send me an email, and I'd be happy to send it to you again so you can go and trust that. And remember that they'll give you a 60-day free trial, and all the letters, all the systems are already in there. The next question comes from Debbie Albert. It says, fine, I looked at then. I need to find it now, please. Thank you for help. So Debbie, send me an email, and I will send you a link directly to the expired program so you don't have to go through everything on there. The next question says, the exclusive web page requires a password, and I'm reluctant to give it out over the air just to make sure that there's nobody that really didn't supposed to get here. But if you send me an email, I will send you a password thing so you can get into it, all of that. And again, my email is greg.herder@hobbsherder.com. And Debbie Albert says, love you. So, all right.
I'm the old lady. Tammy's the young chick.
So any other, I mean, it's interesting. We've got two people here. One been doing this for a while, one fairly new. Any words of advice to agents as they get this up and running, are trying to make the most out of their productivity?
Consistency. Don't stop it. I was lucky enough to have Peggy and David Lucas as mentors when I became a real estate agent. So from the get-go, I've been consistent. Even before I was a Hobbs Herder graduate and had the package, I was using a monthly mail out. So get into the habit of doing that. I can't say enough about just a direct mail campaign and getting in front of people as much as possible. Any amount of exposure is good. The woman on the microphone, the performer who basically gave me a free advertisement, she was fabulous. So get out there. I mean, make yourself known. You're not just going to sit at home. And it's different, I understand, with everyone's personality, but especially with me, when my campaign says that I have high energy and that I love my town, you can be sure that I'm at the opening of any envelope.
I mean, I think that's so important to remember, is that just exposure is critical. So many agents are what I call secret agents. They don't want anybody to know that they actually sell real estate.
Well, and that was going to be my kind of point. I've been a client of Hobbs Herder. I think it's in the 13th year now. I'm not absolutely sure. I quit counting after 10. But the ability to have somebody like Hobbs Herder's team and staff, it's so much more than just a single gateway or a single private 3-day training session. I have been going to Gateway for years, and we joke now that Peggy might be a slow learner, but I'm not. I'm a student of wanting to stay on the cutting edge and having the most current, with exception of my photos, having the most current tools to work with, so that business is easier, so I can concentrate on what I need to be doing, which is writing contracts and taking listings. It's an ability to have, at the very beginning of a career, if somebody's just starting, to have the right tools that will leap you into a successful career. That if you want to take a vacation, when you come home, you have people waiting on you to list their houses. You don't have to jumpstart every single time you take a day off. And, as far as like a brand new agent coming in, they're looking at a price tag. And I get answered this question every month by somebody that's been to a Gateway. They either email or call me because they've seen my contact information. And I love answering this question because it is real. I used to call myself the soccer mom who, what are you going to write about me? How are you going to make me interesting? And again, I connect with the people that are like me. I'm not looking for everybody, but I want to make the people who are like me content in their home purchase. And if it's a baby package, we used to call them the baby package or the A package at Gateway, sign up for what hurts you. And I joke about that because everything hurts in this economy. But if you could spend $6,000 on a package that would make you $60,000 profit in a year, is that a good return? And my CPA would say yes.
All right. So, Peggy, I have a question here. This says, do you print with your brochures with Hobbs Herder's printers, or do you use a local printing company?
I have done both. And I have, the first time I came to Gateway and did my brochure, I printed with a local client of mine who had owned his printing company, and because it was brainless for me, and he gave me a great deal, and he went out of business several years later, and from then on I've been using Hobbs Herder because it's so easy. And Tami has introduced me to printing, and I'll let her tell her story about printing the power cards and getting those out in a timely manner.
Yeah, the digital printing is fabulous. I was using before I had my campaign, I was using a digital printing company and was just used to that. So when I got my marketing materials, that was one of the first things I inquired about, and I'm religious with it. Every month, every exact on the timeline it's supposed to be, I will go online and do the digital printing. And now the hands-free digital printing is available, and I'm super stoked about that. I can't wait to use it. Well,
and I do think that it's amazing. Since Patrick's been running the, set it and forget it, and he'll run your campaign for you, it is wonderful that way. And I got a question from James Wolf. And James, if you send me an email, I will get a hold of Exact Contact and get you changed over to the Hobbs Herder version of it. The next question says, any gateways coming to Western New York or Toronto? And we are going to be in Toronto in June. And we would love any opportunities to come and talk to your offices. So just drop me an email, and I will get you all of that information. And the next,
we're planning on coming out to your Vegas Gateway, Greg. So make it good this year.
Vegas Gateway.
Vegas is always
Vegas,
special.
Everybody, we'll see you there.
All right, and couple of things here since we're running out of time here. I would love comments and questions and feedback. First of all, you can type them in the control panel. I would actually love them to be emailed to me, or go to my Facebook page or the Hobbs Herder Facebook page and send me that. Couple of quick reminders. Next month's call is on May 30th. As soon as this call is over, you can go sign up for next month's call, and so many people wait till the last minute. We'll send you reminders if you get signed up, so make sure you do that now. Also, please post your comments about this on Facebook. I have a couple of quick polls that I want to ask here. First of all, how valuable and useful did you find this webinar? I always want to know, was this useful, valuable information for you? And my goal each month is to keep you on track, moving forward with everything out there. So I see that. All right, I see lots of great feedback from that. I also want to ask you this question here, and Peggy and Tami will find out feedback for them. All right.
Ouch.
I know, it's always tough. The good news is that they want more from you. So that's always a good thing.
Come to Vegas.
All right. So finally, since I've had a number of questions I've sort of been ignoring about Hobbs Herder, if you will just fill this out, we will have somebody contact you if you want any information about having somebody from Hobbs Herder contact you. So fill that out, and we will be in touch with you about anything that you want to have information on that. So I appreciate your time and attention here today. I try and keep these to an hour, and I notice that we're right at an hour right now. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your attendance, your participation, and look forward to seeing you on each and every call. And I just got a message here from Jane Vaughn. Peggy says, love you, Peggy, always follow you on Facebook. So now you do have a huge fan base out there, and have a great day, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you next month on the conference call. If there's anything we can do for you, please don't hesitate to call. We're here to help you succeed and be your marketing partner in success. So thank you very much, and have a great day. Thank you, Peggy and Tami.
It's our pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.